it is a mitzvah to respect every Torah scholar, even if he is not one's teacher. As Leviticus 19:32 states, stand up before a white-haired man and respect an elder. The word zaken, translated as elder, alludes to the Hebrew words meaning one who has acquired wisdom. When is one obligated to stand before him? When he approaches within 4 cubits of him until he passes him. 2. One should not stand before a scholar in a bathhouse or toilet, for it is stated, ibid, stand up and respect, implying standing up that conveys respect. Craftsmen are not obligated to stand before the Torah scholars while they are involved in their work, for it is stated, stand up and respect. It can be inferred that just as showing respect does not involve a financial loss, standing need not involve a financial loss. What is the source which teaches that a person should not divert his eyes from the scholar so that he will not see him, lest he be required to stand before him? It is written, ibid, and you shall fear your God, with regard to all matters dependent on one's conscience. The Torah states, and you shall fear your God. 3. It is not proper for a scholar to trouble the people and position himself before them, so that they will have to stand for him. Rather, he should take shortcuts and have the intent that they should not see him, so that he will not trouble them to stand. The sages would take circular routes through the outskirts of their cities, where people who recognize them would not be found, in order not to trouble them. 4. Riding is considered to be walking. Just as one stands before a scholar who is walking, so one should stand before one who is riding. When 3 people are journeying together, the master should walk in the center, the student of greater stature on his right, and the one of lesser stature on his left. 6. One who sees a scholar need not stand in deference to him until he reaches within 4 cubits of him. Once he has passed, he may sit. Should one see the Av Beit Din, one should stand in deference to him from the time he sees him, as far as the eye can see. He may not sit until he has passed 4 cubits beyond him. Should one see the Nasi, one should stand in deference to him from the time he sees him, as far as the eye can see. He may not sit until he has reached his place, or passed beyond his field of vision and is hidden. Should a Nasi desire to waive the honor due him, he may forego it. When the Nasi enters the house of study, all the people should stand. They may not sit until he tells them to. When the Av Beit Din enters, 2 rows are opened for him, and the people stand on either side until he enters and sits in his place. The other people remain seated in their places. 7. When a scholar enters, when he approaches within 4 cubits of anyone, the latter should stand for him. Thus one stands and another sits until he enters and sits in his place. The sons and the students of the scholars may jump over the heads of the people to reach their place, when their presence is required by the people at large. It is not praiseworthy for a scholar to enter the house of study last. If one leaves to tend to his needs, he may return to his place. The children of the scholars who have enough knowledge to listen turn their faces toward their father. If they lack the knowledge to listen, they turn their faces to the people. 8. A student who is constantly sitting before his teacher is permitted to rise in his honor only twice daily, in the morning and in the evening, so that the honor paid to the teacher does not exceed the honor paid to God. We should stand before an elderly man of exceedingly advanced age, even if he is not a scholar. Even a scholar who is young is obligated to stand before an elderly man of exceedingly advanced age. Nevertheless, he need not rise to his full height, and need only show some token of respect. Even an elderly Gentile should be addressed with words of respect, and a hand should be extended to support him. As Leviticus 19:32 states, stand up before a white-haired man. Every white-haired man is included therein. 10 Torah scholars should not personally take part in any communal work projects, e.g., building, digging, or the like, to improve the city, lest they become disgraced in the eyes of the common people. Money should not be collected from them to pay for building the city wall, fixing its gates, its watchmen's wages, and the like. The same applies regarding a present to be offered to the king. Similarly, they are not obligated to pay taxes, neither their share in a tax levied on the city as a whole, nor a head tax levied on each individual, as can be inferred from Hosea 8:10. Although they will give among the nations, now I will gather them. In a little while, they will be released from the burden of the king and his officers. Similarly, if a Torah scholar has merchandise to sell, he is allowed to sell it first, and no other person at the marketplace is allowed to sell until he does. Similarly, if he has a legal matter and stands among many other litigants, he is given priority. Also, he is allowed to sit. It is a great sin to disgrace Torah scholars or to hate them. Jerusalem was not destroyed until its inhabitants disgraced its sages, as implied by 2 Chronicles 36:16, and they would mock the messengers of God, despise his words, and scoff at his prophets, i.e. they would scorn those who taught his words. Similarly, the Torah statement Leviticus 26:16, if you despise my statutes, should be interpreted, if you despise the teachers of my statutes. Whoever disgraces the scholars has no portion in the world to come, and is included in the category, those who scorn the word of God, Numbers 15:31. Even though a person who disgraces a Torah scholar will not receive a portion in the world to come, if witnesses come and testify that he disgraced him, even if only verbally, he is placed under a ban of ostracism. This ban is publicly announced by the court. Also, wherever he is located, he is fined a litra of gold, which is given to the scholar. Even one who disgraces a scholar after his death is placed under a ban of ostracism by the court. They should release the ban when he repents. In contrast, if the scholar is alive, they do not release the ban until he appeases the scholar for whose honor he was ostracized. To protect his honor, a scholar may issue a ban of ostracism against a common person who acted outrageously against him. He does not need witnesses, nor must the offender have been warned. The ban is not lifted until he appeases the scholar. If the scholar dies, 3 people may come and lift the ban. If the scholar desires to forgive him and not place him under ban, he is permitted to do so. 13. If a teacher placed a person under a ban of ostracism because of his honor, all of his students are obligated to treat the person in the required fashion. However, if a student issued a ban of ostracism because of his own honor, his teacher is not obligated to abide by the terms of the ban. Nevertheless, all other people are obligated to do so. Similarly, when a person is placed under a ban of ostracism because of an affront to the honor of the Nasi, all Jews are obligated to abide by the terms of the ban. However, if a person is placed under a ban of ostracism because of any Jew, the Nasi is not obligated to abide by it. When a person is placed under a ban of ostracism because of his city, other cities must also abide by this ban. However, if he is placed under ban by other cities, his own city need not abide by the ban. 14. When does the above apply? When the ban was imposed because he acted disrespectfully to a Torah scholar. However, a person who is placed under a ban of ostracism for another reason, for which such a ban may be declared, even if the ban was declared by a person of the lowest stature in Israel, the Nasi and all Jews are obligated to abide by the terms of the ban until he repents for the matter for which the ban was imposed, and the ban is lifted. A ban of ostracism is imposed upon a person, either man or woman, for the following 24 reasons. A person who disgraces a scholar even after his passing. A person who embarrasses a messenger of a court. A person who calls a colleague a slave. A person who was ordered to appear before a court at a specific time and did not come. A person who treats even one point of rabbinic law with disrespect. Needless to say, this applies regarding matters of scriptural law. A person who refuses to comply with the decisions rendered by a court is placed under ban until he complies. A person who possesses an entity that can cause damage, e.g., a dangerous dog or a faulty ladder, is placed under ban until he removes that entity. A person who sells land to a Gentile is placed under ban until he accepts responsibility for any damages which the Gentile may cause his Jewish neighbor. A person who testifies against a Jewish colleague in a secular court and causes money which Torah law would not require him to pay to be expropriated from him is placed under ban until he repays that amount. A butcher who is a priest and does not separate the priestly gifts and give them to another priest is placed under ban until he gives them. A person who violates the sanctity of the second day of the festivals in the diaspora, even though their observance is only a custom. A person who performs work on Pesach Eve afternoon. A person who takes God's name in vain or takes an oath casually. A person who causes the many to desecrate God's name. A person who causes the many to eat sacrificial food outside its proper place. A person who calculates the years and declares a leap year or fixes the day of the new month in the diaspora. A person who causes the blind, i.e., the morally unaware, to stumble. A person who prevents the many from performing a mitzvah. A butcher who sold non-kosher meat. A butcher who does not inspect his knife in the presence of a scholar. A person who intentionally causes himself to have an erection. A person who divorced his wife and then entered into a partnership or business dealings with her, which requires them to come into contact. When they come to court, they are placed under ban. A scholar whose reputation is unsavory. A person who places a person under ban when the latter does not deserve such punishment.